Hi, hope everyone's doing well. Today I want to cover the missing case of 18-year-old Augustine Lee Floyd. He went by Auggie. He disappeared on October 12th, 2007 from Mount Pleasant, Michigan. Now, I live in Michigan. I live about 80 miles away from Mount Pleasant, and there's another city in Michigan involved in this story too, and I'm about more than 200 miles away from that city. But I'll get to that in a minute. This story is kind of convoluted there's a lot of moving parts, as I say, and a lot of clues that are probably out there, but not obtainable to law enforcement. And I'll explain what I mean as we go along here. And I'll try to make this as clear as possible, but there's a lot of murkiness in the water. So I'm going to start with the Charlie Project. They usually kind of summarize things pretty well, and if anything's going to make it at least a little bit clear, then it'll be this from the Charlie Project, and then I'll kind of flesh out some other things that I've learned about this case with facts here from the Charlie Project. Okay, as I mentioned, he went missing on October 12th, 2007. He went missing from Mount Pleasant, Michigan. Now, that's not where he was living, and I'll get to that in a minute. He's considered an endangered missing person. He's male. He's Native American, hence he's part of my Missing Indigenous Persons playlist. His date of birth is May 20th, 1989. He'd be 36 years old today. He went missing when he was 18. He was 5'10", weighed 185 pounds. He was last seen wearing a dark-colored sweatshirt, a white t-shirt, dark-colored jeans, and white sneakers. He was driving a black four-door 1995 Cadillac DeVille with a bungee cord holding the damaged trunk shut and a blue Michigan license plate number AAN, as in Nancy, 4697. That's AAN 4697. Now, he disappeared along with his vehicle, and that's important to a piece of information coming up shortly. He's a Native American male with brown hairs, brown eyes. Floyd is a member of the Grand Traverse Band of Ottawa and Chippewa Indians, and his nickname again is Auggie. Here's a little bit of detail about his disappearance. On the evening of October 12th, 2007, Floyd attended a concert for the band T-Pain at Central Michigan University in Mount Pleasant, Michigan. He went to a party on East Remus Road at the Isabella Indian Reservation after the concert. He had a confrontation with some other guests at the party and was thrown out, but he later returned. He was last seen at 4 a.m. standing near his car. He never returned to his Suttons Bay, Michigan home, and that's the other city that's involved. He did not live in or near Mount Pleasant, and has never been heard from again. Now, I'm going to put up a map of the lower peninsula of Michigan because the upper Peninsula is not relevant to this story. And there is a yellow pin about right in the middle of the Lower Peninsula, right in the middle of the state. That's Mount Pleasant. That's where he disappeared from. That's where the concert and the party were. And up northwest of there, 129 miles or 207.61 kilometers is Sutton's Bay. And I've marked that with a red pin. So you can see how the two cities are located in relation to one another and how far apart they are from one another. It was uncharacteristic of Floyd to leave without warning or to be out of touch with his family. He was a student at Northwestern Michigan College at the time he went missing. Floyd is one of 7 children. His mother was murdered by her husband in 2002, and Floyd was injured in the attack while trying to defend her. He moved in with his grandmother after his mother's death and was still living there when he went missing. So again, that's up in Sutton's Bay. At the time of his disappearance, Floyd had warrants out for his arrest in Grand Rapids, Michigan, after he failed to appear in court for sentencing. I don't know what for, and I don't think it's probably relevant to this story, but Grand Rapids is a long way from both Mount Pleasant and Sutton's Bay. It's a tremendous distance from Sutton's Bay. Probably and I'm just guessing this in my mind without looking it up. Probably, I'm going to guess, maybe 250 miles due south from Sutton's Bay. So he traveled around the state there a little bit, sounds like. And again, I don't know what the warrant was for, and I'm pretty sure it doesn't pertain to have anything to do with his disappearance, so I'm not going down that rabbit hole. Otherwise this video will be like 12 hours long. So the distance between Sutton's Bay and Grand Rapids is 158 miles or 255 kilometers. It would take almost 3 hours to get there one way if you drive nonstop. So this kind of gives you an idea of that. Again, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole at this time. In December 2008, Floyd's disappearance was declared a probable homicide. Authorities have one suspect in his case, but they believe multiple people may have been involved in his presumed murder, and it remains unsolved. This was last updated, this Charlie Project article was last updated December 9th, 2012. Alrighty, well, again, I'm going to try to put together some kind of a timeline of occurrences between his disappearance and now. I'm using the website SAGCHIP, in other words, Saginaw Chippewa Band, sagchip.org. It's the website of the Saginaw Chippewa Tribal Police. There's a little more detail here. He left his Sutton Bay home to meet a girl by the name of Kendra, whom he met on MySpace and with whom he attended the T-Pain concert. And again, he was last seen standing by his car at a party after the concert. So I'm going to try to... They have a timeline but on the website, but it's not in order. So I'm going to try to help you out by finding the oldest and working back to the most recent. These timelines span a few months of time between when he went missing and about 6 months afterwards. So they're not real recent updates, but they give us kind of a immediate timeline. Okay. So I went missing again in October of 2007. And then here's an update, 11/27/07 by Joe Saumick, entitled 6 weeks, 6-week search for missing tribal youth continues. Leads are being followed, interviews. The Saginaw Chippewa Tribal Police are looking for evidence to come forward to assist locating 18-year-old Grand Traverse tribal member Augustine Floyd. Multi-jurisdictional assistance has been offered through Leelanau County Sheriff's Department, Grand Traverse Band Tribal Police, Michigan Indian Law Enforcement Officers, or MILO, Michigan State Police Crime Lab, and the Isabella County Community Emergency Response Team, or CERT. The case has garnered federal attention with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, of course, and U.S. Department of the Interior Bureau of Indian Affairs, excuse me, I'm losing my voice here, or otherwise known as the BIA, representatives lending their expertise. BIA criminal investigator Levi Carrick is the special agent assigned to this effort and has been working with lead tribal police criminal investigators Phil Mata and Jason Van Conant. We have done follow-up on leads and have conducted 84 interviews in the process, said investigator Mata. We are now in the process of cross-referencing this wealth of information and identifying those people of interest. Saginaw Chippewa Tribal Police Lieutenant Harry Norman coordinated the 24-hour incident command post from Tribal Police Headquarters from October 21st to October 28th. Lieutenant Norman made it clear there's a difference between persons of interest and suspects. A person of interest can be someone who knows something that they've not told us, and all our police work points to several people who fit that category, where their story and recollection of events has changed. Lieutenant Norman explains a suspect is an identified person where evidence based on information may lead to a warrant for their arrest. There were no, at that time, no suspects or no warrants out for anyone. We're shaking the tree and we know there are people who may not be telling the full story, Captain Crockett said. The Floyd disappearance is now listed on the Fox Network TV show America's Most Wanted with John Walsh, and information on the case can be viewed at www.amw.com. Anyone with information pertinent to the investigation is encouraged to contact the Saginaw Chippewa Tribal Police or the Leelanau County Sheriff's Department. I will leave those numbers along with the Tribal Police tip line and in the description box below this video. Your tips left on the Tribal Police tip line, by the way, can be anonymous. Okay, so, oh, I missed one here, I'm sorry. A month before that, so about 2 weeks into the search, what I just read to you was 6 weeks in. This is about 2 weeks in. I'm trying to... Now, this lists him missing on October 13th. And in my research, I noted that sometimes he's listed as October 12th. Sometimes he's listed as missing on October 13th. The majority of the articles and websites say it was the 12th. So the concert, my thinking is the concert may have been on the 12th, and he went missing at 4 a.m. on the 13th, or was last seen. Or he went missing was last seen at 4 a.m. on the 12th and was reported missing on the 13th. But in either case, I'm kind of going with the October 12th date. Just for clarity's sake. This this timeline blurb talks about how about a week after he went missing, over 120 volunteers across Michigan gathered at the Saginaw Chippewa Tribal Police Department, and they did a search, and they really were. It lists all the towns from which people came, some of which I'm very familiar with because I've either lived or worked there. And wow, I'm impressed. My hometown is listed in there. And that's a long way from Mount Pleasant. Parts of northeast Isabella County were the subject of the search, including areas near the corner of Chippewa and Beale City roads. Over 50 Saginaw Chippewa tribal members and Grand Traverse Band tribal members joined with community volunteer force to provide assistance in searching state land near Coleman and Love roads. And then it extends appreciation to everyone, and leaves the contact numbers for tips again. Okay, now we're going to go from 11/27/07 to August 26th of 08. And there's an Augustine Floyd missing persons case update. The Saginaw Chippewa Tribal Police, with the assistance of a countywide task force, is still actively investigating the disappearance of Augustine Floyd as of 8/26/08. We have received various tips from people, and we are still in the process of investigating those leads. Interviews are being completed every week in reference to these new tips. Augustine Floyd and his vehicle have not been located as of this date, and the case remains open under investigation. There have been no arrests made. We are requesting, again, they leave the numbers for the Tribal Police Department or their anonymous tribal tip line. They're requesting that you have any information, you leave the information in those spots. Now, the last press release is dated 12/2/08, and it says case shifts focus from missing person to homicide, and the investigation narrows. And there's just like 2 sentences here saying the investigation into the disappearance of Auggie Floyd appears to have turned the corner from a missing persons case to a homicide investigation, according to a recently published story by local newspaper The Morning Sun. Now, I'm going to go to an article by The Morning Sun shortly. This article, let's see, is from 2021. But before I get to that article, I am going to tell you that in 2015, they searched a pond in Isabella County, which is Mount Pleasant is in that county. I believe it's around Mount Pleasant, because they received a tip from someone that he was seen in that area. Now, this is from mlive.com news. It was, I gotta get rid of this here. It was published on August 5th, 2015. So he'd been gone, missing for about a little less than 8 years at that point. The article is by Brad Devereaux. The dateline is Mount Pleasant, Michigan. A police dive team searched the central Michigan pond Wednesday, August 5th. Came up empty, acting on a tip about a vehicle and/or a body underwater there. They dove. Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe Public Relations Director Frank Cloutier said Isabella County Dive Team, in conjunction with the Saginaw Chippewa Tribal Police, dove for about 3 hours Wednesday at a pond behind a house. I'm not going to give the address, but it's a somebody's backyard. Cloutier said it was assumed that the body in the car tipster described could have belonged to Auggie Floyd, an 18-year-old student at Northwestern Michigan College in Traverse City, which is near Sutton's Bay, where he was living, who disappeared after a T-Pain concert in 2007 at Central Michigan University, which again was, 129 miles away in Mount Pleasant. And again, it mentions America's Most Wanted having the information. And that they're trying to follow absolutely every tip that they can, but they're getting a lot of tips. Somewhere along the way, the team Chaos Divers, who are a professional team that do this for a living. Adventures with Purpose is probably the most renowned missing persons dive team. But if you shout out to Chaos Divers, they're a great team as well. And if you have someone who disappears along with their car, and you contact them on their website, they will, and give them a little bit of the story. They will try to, one like I said, Chaos Divers, Adventures with Purpose. There's a number of dive teams out there across the United States that do this sort of thing. And they will come and they will dive in a radius. They'll spend quite a lot of time looking at ponds and rivers and lakes and, bodies of water within like a 5-mile radius of the area where the person was last seen. And they will, using sonar, they'll find vehicles underwater and mark them, and then they'll dive on them and rule in or out the vehicle as belonging to the missing person. And they've brought a lot of people home. So that's a free advertisement for Chaos Divers and the other folks that are out there doing that, helping, providing a tremendous service as well to loved ones and to law enforcement, because there are a lot of places that law enforcement might not have a dedicated dive team. Plus, these groups do it for a living, and they have a lot of specialized equipment that local law enforcement dive teams might not have, and they are able to lend their expertise also when pulling cars out of bodies of water, because they've done it so much and worked with so many tow services and everything. So anyway, I said I wasn't going to go down a rabbit hole, but surprise, I did. Big surprise. But also, I've read that he has been DNA tested against 5 recovered John Doe bodies that fit location and kind of body type or whatever, approximated age and so on, unidentified, 5 unidentified males, deceased males. He's been DNA tested against them, and all 5 males tested negative. So none of those bodies belong to Augustine Floyd. Also, this is from MLive. I told you I had an article I was going to share with you from MLive. This was Patricia Ecker's article, and in the Morning Sun, I know I accidentally just said it was from MLive. My apologies. This is from the Morning Sun, themorningsun.com, written by Patricia Ecker on June 17th, 2021. It's called Augie's Family Wants Answered. David Russell, the uncle of a Suttons Bay man last seen in Mount Pleasant area 2 years ago, hopes community members. This was, I guess I should go back a little bit. This was written in 2009. It was about a vigil held on October 14th, 2009. It was updated in 2021. So when it says that the man that Auggie was last seen in Mount Pleasant area 2 years ago, you have to remember that this article, the base of this article was written in 2009 and updated in 2021. So I'm reading you the updated version, but the majority of the article was written only 2 years after Auggie disappeared. Hope's community members now who know details of his nephew's disappearance will come forward. Family members held a candlelight vigil last week, so that would have been the 2-year anniversary of his disappearance. Marking the second year since Augie Floyd, 18, went missing. About 40 family members and friends attended the ceremony and renewed their call for answers. Floyd was last seen October 12, 2007. This is a horrible situation, and a lot of people, are living with it, Russell said. Floyd was reported missing to the Leelanau County Sheriff's Department when he didn't return from a trip that included a concert at Central Michigan University. The Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribal Police Department was contacted after it was discovered that he was last seen at a party at a home on the Isabella Reservation. A county-wide task force that includes the Tribal Police Department, Michigan State Police, the Isabella County Sheriff's Department, Mount Pleasant City Police Department, the Leelanau County Sheriff's Department, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation was formed to work the case. The development of this task force has increased the number of investigators and resources available to further the case. A press release from the tribal police said, "Search warrants have been executed at various locations around the state and evidence has been collected. We have recently developed a person of interest in the case, and we believe there are others involved. There have been no arrests made as of this date." The candlelight vigil for Auggie took place at sunset at the Zibowing Center, where Augie's grandmother and siblings gathered with their family and community members, Russell said. Floyd, a member of the Grand Traverse Bay Band of Ottawa and Chippewa Indians, left Leelanau County on October 12th, and police officials said that he was last seen in the Mount Pleasant area on October 13th, 2007. "We had a sacred fire and my family came down," Mariah Floyd, Augie's 14-year-old sister, said. "It made me feel good that my family came down. I was happy that my nephew, Augie's son," so he had a baby. He had a little boy when he disappeared. "Came, and I'm going to show you a picture here of Augie's son. Obviously, he's much older now. Otherwise, I wouldn't show his face. But he looks to be maybe about a year old when his dad disappeared, or when this vigil was held, which would have been, he must have been basically a newborn when Auggie disappeared, because he doesn't look any older than like 2 years old in this picture. So he must have been a tiny baby, I'm presuming, when his dad disappeared. So he'll never know, quite possibly never know his dad, except through stories from others and pictures. That's sad. Very sad. "I was happy that my nephew, Augie's son, came. It has been very hard not hearing anything." Gerada Floyd, or it might be Gerada, I'm sorry if I mispronounce it. Augie's great aunt said that when the investigation first began, tribal police contacted the family with updates, but they haven't spoken to the family in over a year. "I want to know what they are doing," Gerada Floyd said. Is there an investigation, or is this just a cold case?" Russell said he's been in contact with tribal police, but is not happy on the lack of progress. "I'm mad as hell," Russell said. "I don't see anything going on right now. I'm the only one running around asking questions." Tribal police would not discuss the case except in a press release. They said that the investigation is ongoing. "In the meantime, we are requesting that anyone with information relating to this case call the Tribal Police Department or the anonymous tip line." Again, I'm including that information in the box after this update. "There's a monetary reward being offered for the information leading to the arrest and conviction of the person responsible in this case. It's my understanding the reward is $10,000. In case you're curious. So that's really just about all I have. There is a Facebook page, Michigan Missing and Unsolved has a Facebook page regarding this case. It was uploaded in or created, his section of it was recreated by Tammy Robinson Scott Arnold, who is the admin, or one of the admins. I don't know how many there are. November 22nd, 2024, so just a few months ago. Augustine Lee Floyd has been missing from Mount Pleasant, Michigan since October 12, 2007. It's been 17 years since he disappeared. He was 18 at the time, so his son is an adult now. Augustine, or Auggie, as he was often called, attended a T-Pain concert at Central Michigan University the night of October 12th. After the concert, he attended a party on a nearby reservation. I'm curious to know, did that girl go with him to the party? Who was at the party? Why did he attend that party? Did he just hear about it and because he was, a tribal member, albeit not from that area, he thought he'd just drop by? Did Kendra or Kenda, whatever her name turned out to be, go with him? Has she ever been located and questioned? Do the police know who she is? Or, there's so many questions. So many questions. He went to the party and he was involved with an altercation and was thrown out. He returned later and was last seen standing next to his black four-door Cadillac DeVille, which is also still missing. He was never seen again. Police have declared that they believe Auggie likely met with foul play and that several people were involved. Auggie is of the Grand Traverse Band of Ottawa and Chippewa Indians with short brown hair and brown eyes. He was 5'10" and 185 pounds when last seen. Auggie, again, was wearing a dark-colored sweatshirt, a white t-shirt, dark jeans, and white sneakers. He is listed as case number MP9012 in NamUs, and there are 5 exclusions for his DNA. I explained that about him being tested against John Doe, deceased males, and as I noted, there are 5 exclusions. In other words, he was tested against 5 male cadavers, and they were excluded or found not to be him. Auggie was living in Suttons Bay at the time and was attending Northwestern Michigan College. He is one of 7 children. His mother was murdered in 2002 by her husband, as was noted before. And I also want to say his dad or his mother's husband, whether that was his bio dad or not, sounds like a real piece of shit. But even though he is not a wonderful human being, he's not implicated in any way, shape, or form in Augie's disappearance. Just want to put that out there. He's not a person of interest. Auggie was injured during the incident trying to protect his mother. After his mother's murder, he moved in with his grandmother, with whom he lived at the time of his disappearance. And then we have the usual phone numbers. What was added on November 18, 2024 is just the part where he has been missing for 17 years. And not a lot of new information there, some rehashing, some reminding of information that we already had. And since this video is already like 70 hours long, I'm going to stop here and I'm just going to say what I usually say. There are people out there that know stuff and have been living with this for 17 years. 18, almost. Come on. It's time somebody gives up some information. It's time somebody allows the family and friends of Augustine Floyd to bring him home and lay him to rest. He has an adult son who never knew his father. He deserves to grieve with his family. He deserves to know what happened to his dad. This is a perpetuation of a family tragedy which started with the 2002 murder of his grandmother and now the 2007 disappearance of his dad and also presumed death. Let's bring the family some peace. If you know something, say something. Man up, come forward. Tell your truth. Tell the truth. Where is Augustine Floyd? What happened to him after he got kicked out of that party and came back? Was the girl he attended the concert with him? If so, she's at least a witness leading up to him leaving for the party. She could provide information as to, his state of mind. Were there drugs or alcohol, and I'm not saying there was, involved pre-party? Was he already drunk or high or both? If he did that sort of thing, I don't know that he did or didn't. I've not seen any information saying he did. But I'm just, brainstorming here. And so does that make him belligerent? And is that why he got kicked out had the altercation, got kicked out of the party? Why'd he come back? Was it a macho thing? Oh, I'm going to go back, I'm going to kick their ass? I don't know. I'm speculating. I'm wondering aloud. And I'm concerned. So anyway, the contact info will be in the box below. Thank you for staying with me this long, putting up with my sort of trying to put all the pieces in place to make some sense of what happened to him. If you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you so choose to. If you'd like to leave a comment, you can agree, disagree, be angry, whatever you'd like, but please be respectful. And I appreciate it. I appreciate you. Let's speak up for Mr. Floyd and others like him who are missing. We need to bring these people home. And as always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.